Okay, today we're going to play Alone Against the Flames, a solo adventure for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. This actually works with the quick start rules, and it kind of explains how to do it in here, but since Stir Fry is already a skilled Call of Cthulhu player, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your character? It's the same character that we've seen in the other videos, but maybe just give us a brief little introduction to who Jerry is.
Okay, well, his name's Jerry Black. That's his full name. He's a detective, and he's from Boston.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. The sun is high in the sky, a merciless ball of heat. You feel scorched by the time you reach the bus hall in front of Osborne's drugstore. It's a relief to put down your heavy cases and take off your hat for a moment. You fan your face. It has been a long summer here in your hometown, and yet a curiously empty one. You look across the street at the grubby butcher shop, the grocer's with its faded awning, and the shabby tobacconist. Mistrustful faces glare at you as they pass, eyeing your clothes and luggage. It was your parents' choice to live here, not yours. You were happy down south as a child among Providence's white-walled houses and leafy churchyards. Perhaps this new job in Arkham will supply the change you need. Yet everybody you know in the world lives here. You know nobody in Arkham, not one soul. You ask yourself one last time if you're doing this the right way. If you are doing the right thing. The answer is here. None of your supposed friends have come to see you off. You are alone. Whatever challenges lie in Arkham, it will be a new life and a brave one. A small gray motor coach approaches and rattles to a stop. You put your hat back on and pick up your cases. Now, if you need to take any notes, here's your little notebook. So now I just need to read ahead to the next section.
Yeah.
Two young men with sullen expressions alight from the coach. And a coach would be like a bus. One looks you up and down before heading away. The driver also steps down, glancing at you before crossing the road to visit the tobacconist. When he returns, he is rolling a cigarette between his yellowed fingers. He gives it a final twist and examines you as he reaches for his matchbox. He is a thin man in his 50s, dressed in a stained shirt with the bus company emblem, yet his eyes are sharp in their dull sockets. Where to? You show him your ticket for Ossipee. From there you will connect to Rochester and Portsmouth, before the coastal line to Newburyport, and finally, Arkham. You should be able to afford a rail ticket for at least some of the way, otherwise this will be the first of many long bus trips. The driver scratches the match and lights his cigarette. The end flares as he takes a draw. Then he exhales and gestures to the back of the coach. Luggage rack's up there.
Okay.
Alright. He seems nice.
Yeah, he seems very nice.
The driver smokes and watches as you drag your cases to the back of the motor coach. The rack is set inconveniently high on the vehicle. You get a grip on the heavier case. Now, what is your size?
Where does it say that?
The top where your abilities are, your characteristics. One of them will be size.
65.
Okay, so it's higher than 40. So, we'll go to 38. The driver continues to enjoy his cigarette, watching with keen interest as you struggle with the cases. You grit your teeth and heave the second one into place. Perhaps the residents of Arkham will have better manners.
Hopefully.
Yeah, he's not very nice. The driver flicks his cigarette into the gutter and steps into the motor coach. Its engine coughs to life. You board, grateful that you will be the only passenger for the initial part of your trip, at least. With mixed emotions, you watch from the window as the tired avenues of your old home slip behind you, receding into the distance. For a few minutes you can still see the church spire over the brow of a low hill. Then the road dips and it, too, is gone. Arkham is your new home. You will travel there and make a new start.
Okay.
The coach putters through the countryside. At first, the interior is stifling, and your stomach lurches with every bend in the road. However, the driver opens his window, and by switching seats, you find a spot where the breeze hits your face. You soon relax into the journey, observing the quaint little hamlets that the coach serves. A heavy-set woman boards at one settlement and gives you a polite nod. She gets off at the next one. The road rises a little, passing cornfields and orchards. The leaves are turning, and the trees are alive with glorious reds and golds. You have just begun to doze when the driver takes a tight bend at speed. You need to make a dexterity roll.
Okay, 75. Let's see. Where am I? These two. 66.
No, that's a...
Oh, 96. Oh,
96.
crap.
So that's a fail.
Yeah. I was hoping that was a 66.
Mm. Let's see. A desperate yell awakens you. You feel yourself slide from the seat as the driver spins the wheel and the motor coach plunges off the road. Too late, you reach for the seat in front. You fall into the aisle and your ribs crash against the edge of the seat opposite. Breath rushes out of you. The coach stops with a thump. Your driver leaps from his seat into the road. As you sprawl dizzy in the aisle, you hear a string of incendiary curses. The driver climbs back into the cab and sees you on the floor. He looks concerned and assists you back into your seat. You see what has happened now. A Fordson tractor has stopped in the road, and he had to swerve to avoid this steel obstacle. "Sorry," he says. "All them fields, and he has to pick the road to park. You all right?" Well, you don't think anything's broken, but you'll have a colorful bruise for the next few days. Do you say anything back to him?
No.
He backs the coach up a little and threads it around the tractor, glaring at the farmer. All right, you lost 1 hit point in the accident.
Okay, so I'm at 13?
Yes.
So, about how far are we to Arkham?
I don't think it's too terribly far. It might be a few more hours still until you get there.
Okay.
You resume your journey. The driver takes the curves with more caution than before. He glances over his shoulder at you a couple of times. "Sorry about before," he says. "That fellow was dumber than a hog. I'm Silas. What's your name?"
Jerry.
Well, the accident was at least as much Silas's fault as the farmer's, you decide. But it doesn't seem shrewd to antagonize the man while he's driving you through the middle of nowhere. The coach turns into a narrower road, which weaves uphill through the woodland. Silas becomes chatty. "Going to Arkham, eh? Can't say I ever heard of the place. Went to Boston once, didn't like it. Too much hustle and bustle. You got family there? A special someone waiting?"
I think, isn't that where the parents are from? Or they moved there?
It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll just say that.
The afternoon is wearing on. You see no harm in confiding in Silas about your new life. "The job, eh? What's your line of work?"
I'm a detective.
You don't tell him all the details about your profession. You mention only that you have helped the police to clear up various problems in the past. Your heart pounds a little faster as you think of the post you have secured at the Blackwood Detective Agency. You've had enough of investigating infidelity and bank clerks on the take. It sounds like the Blackwood Agency is just the opportunity you need to cut your teeth on some real villainy. Silas narrows his eyes, but says nothing.
This guy's pretty shady.
You realize Silas hasn't made a stop since the incident with the tractor. The motor coach winds its way uphill. However, your thoughts are interrupted as the road crests a ridge, and you are treated to a magnificent view of the vista below. A creek snakes through the valley, breaking the rich autumn palette of the tree line. In the distance, the white mountains rise into hazy cloud. There is no settlement, not even a cabin, as far as the eye can see. Birds drift through the treetops, and you can just make out what might be 2 white-tailed deer lingering by the water. Perhaps you are making a mistake by moving to the city. Could you survive on your own in this lush wilderness?
Maybe.
44. Let me jump ahead. The motor coach rattles through the hills, and Silas lapses into silence. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view, a settlement on the crest of a hill. This doesn't look like the pictures you've seen of Mississippi, but perhaps you can persuade Silas to stop while you stretch your legs. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine interrupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear stick. The motor coach falters in the ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognize and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel. You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road. He scrambles from his seat and makes for the engine compartment. Alright, you need to make a roll, either drive auto or psychology.
What would I make the drive auto for?
To maybe see if you can figure out what's going on.
And the psychology one for?
Well, I'm not sure. If you do drive auto, you'll just need a regular success. If you do psychology, you'll need a hard success.
I'll do the drive auto.
So what is your drive auto skill?
20%. What's my psychology? Let me check first. Where would that be?
Starts with a P.
Yep, I'm looking.
Well, it's all alphabetical.
Oh, I know. Here it is. 65. Okay.
So half of that would be, what, 32?
Yeah, so I have a better chance of getting that one.
Psychology.
So I'll try that one, okay? 21.
21, so you did it. So put a little check mark next to that.
Okay.
You sense a falseness to Silas's actions. He is acting. Either he is not as aggravated about the breakdown as his behavior suggests, or perhaps the breakdown itself is an act. If this is a ruse to make you spend your time and money in a local shop, he will be sadly disappointed in your purchasing power. Silas opens the engine compartment and sticks his head inside. The hot metal pops and sizzles. He pokes at various components, then withdraws and wipes his brow, smearing it with dark grease. I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure. Might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't do much until the engine cools neither. And with the light failing, I reckon we'll be here through the night. He wipes his hands on a rag. The shadows from your surroundings are already long, and the air is chilly. You feel stiff from the journey, and a night in the rickety coach sounds unappealing. Silas sees your dismay. This here's Emberhead, miles from any place. I only come through twice a week, but the folks here are good people. May Ledbetter keeps a spare room. She'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment, and spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning, and we'll see how we stand. Now, do you want to go to May Ledbetter's house? Do you want to ask Silas where he's going to sleep? Or do you want to challenge him about the breakdown, see if maybe you can repair it or something?
What would I do for if I was going to try and repair it? Like, what would that be? Like, what type of role?
Well, you've probably got some skill in, I forget what the skill's called.
Would it be electrical repair?
Yeah, it'd be some sort of repair skill, or maybe, what is it? Mechanical repair. That's what it is.
What's my score? 35? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go see if that one person has a spare room.
May Ledbetter?
Yeah.
Okay. You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly weary, considering you have spent all day sitting down. Silas's directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. A nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath a sign in neat copperplate reads Lodging Room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. A breeze chills your face. You're not about to begin your new life by sleeping in the street. You knock on the weather-beaten door. After a moment, you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back and the wooden door swings open. A figure with loose curls and a rough-looking house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes in your traveling suit and your cases. Her voice has a slight Irish lilt. "Hello. Should I take it as you're looking for a room for the night?" You inquire as to her rates, suppressing a grimace. As far as you've seen, the village does not offer you many alternatives. "Oh, you'll find them very reasonable," she says. "You look tired. I'm May. Come inside and we'll talk over a cup of tea." The Ledbetter house feels cramped, with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but it is well kept and a cheerful fire crackles in the grate. The aroma of the tea is soothing and the cup warms your fingers. "So, have you come to Emberhead for the festival?" asks May. Wow, my Irish just suddenly became Scottish. Anyway, do you want to explain what happened with Silas and the coach, or do you want to ask her about the festival?
I'll ask you about the festival.
May shakes her head and you glimpse a moment of deep-seated anger in her green eyes. Hang on, did I go to the wrong one? Yep, I did. Sorry. Wrong one.
Is that what would have happened if I talked about the coach?
Yep. "Well now, I suppose the festival is about the only reason folks here come to Emberhead. I thought you'd maybe come to study it or take photographs. Well, it's not tomorrow night, but the night after. I suppose it looks very strange to a passerby." May tops up your tea. The spout clinks against your cup. "We've got the beacon, you see. One night every year there's a torchlit procession, and we light the beacon on the cliffs. You've never seen the likes of it. They say it keeps the spirit of the village alive for another year. It's a celebration. A celebration." She tails off for a moment and blinks. "Ah, but you didn't come here to listen to me blather, and you must be hungry. I can rustle you up a bit of stew. How would that be?"
Great.
Yeah. You ask again about her rates, and May names a price so low you accept it without hesitation. The room is small but comfortable, and the stew dark and hearty. After dinner you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. To talk to May some more, or do you want to talk to May some more? You can walk around town and get your bearings, or you can turn in for an early night.
Well, what is the town like?
It's pretty small. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's no other towns for miles around. It's probably like 3 or 4 streets and a bunch of houses.
Okay, I think I'll just go to bed.
You just gonna go to bed?
Yeah. I don't got much more to talk about.
As May stands, you hear a clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you can see is a wooden door securely closed. May tuts. "The young lady of the house. She'll have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guest." There's a short pause, then the door creaks open. 2 wide eyes peer at you from the gap between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. "What do you say?" The eyes blink. "Pleased to meet you." "Nah, get back to bed." The door closes again. Me daughter Ruth. 10 years this summer. She's a delight and a moment all in one. Don't worry, she sleeps in with me. She'll not be disturbing you. Good night now." You retire to your room. It is a little chilly, but you are too tired to worry about lighting the fire. The sheets are clean and the bed soon warms up. The silence outside is strange after living in a town for so long, but you soon drop off. You dream of fire in the grate, coruscating colors shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they are tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow, until a kaleidoscope inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor, up the sheets. You wake with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep away from your eyes. It is quite cold. So there was no fire, just in your dreams. If you've taken any damage, you may heal 1 hit point back from your night's sleep.
Oh, yeah. Full hit points.
Perfect. May seems to have no running water, but has supplied some in a ceramic jug. You freshen up at the washstand and go in. She cooks a hearty breakfast and leaves you in peace to eat. At about 7:30 you are paid up, packed up, and ready to go. You bid May goodbye, and she wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham. Do you want to investigate any further?
Not really.
Okay. You are already tired of your heavy bags. Hopefully Silas has repaired the motor coach and you can resume your long journey. A sourpuss he might be, but the old driver seemed to understand his vehicle well enough. You pause to check your watch, still 20 minutes early, and round the final corner, trekking up and down slopes and around corners. At the edge of the village, you trace the long road back as it winds across the hills. 8 o'clock comes and goes. There is no coach to be seen. A passing villager notices your bags.
Looking for the bus? I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days. If you need a place to stay, Med Ledbetter rents a room.
The man raises his hat to you and strolls on into the village. You curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps he went for parts. But you wonder if the old goat has stranded you here on purpose.
Maybe. Maybe he's like an evil cult who's trying to murder me.
Yeah, they usually drive buses.
Yep.
May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forgot something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternate transport. You are grateful to relinquish the load. Nobody here has anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Maybe you could find somebody with a horse and cart for your bags. I could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at the village hall. He'll know if anyone will. Or ask among the artisans. Their workshops are first left on Silbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry. I won't see you sleeping in the street, money or no money. You thank May and go face the village.
Okay. The evil bus driver.
You wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village is built on a relatively flat upland with splendid views. To the north, the hazy tips of the White Mountains reach for the heavens. To the south, the sparkling waters of Lake Winnipesaukee touch the horizon. You know that from What About Bob, right?
Yeah. Winnipesaukee.
The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You arrive on the winding road to the west. The only other road leads to the south, following a lower ridge of land as it turns east. In the southwest of the village, an open grassy space borders a ruined church, its graveyard cresting the cliffs. To the northeast, the 3 main thoroughfares meet at a raised black metal structure. It looms, stark against the blue sky. You can now ask about transport at the local general store. You can seek out the village hall. You can walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road. You can examine the large metal structure. You can explore the ruined church, or you can look for local people with their own transport needs.
I'm gonna go see about transport.
At the general store, or look for local people with their own transport?
Look at the general store.
General store.
First.
The general store is on a corner beside the main road, just before it plunges to the south. The shopkeeper is a brisk, immense lady with a starched apron and strong shoulders. She looks hard at your familiar face. Transport? There's a motor coach comes through twice a week. Missed it? Huh. Truck brings in my supplies every second Tuesday, but it's not due until next week, she shrugs. It seems Emberhead is content to keep its distance from the outside world. You are beginning to get your bearings in Emberhead. Would you like to explore some more? So once you've tried 4 of these options, or before that, then we'll go to another part. But you can go to the village hall, walk down to a lower level and check out the eastern road, examine the large metal structure, explore the church, or look for local people with their own transport needs.
I'll look at the giant metal structure. I want to know what that is.
You walk up the approach, the most central of the village's major streets. It points directly at the odd metal structure. As you emerge from the shade of the nearby buildings, you are greeted by a magnificent panorama spread from the north to the southeast. The last colors of fall tint the hills in a sleepy gold. The structure, by contrast, is made from uncompromising iron, singed black. It supports an immense curved platform at the level of your head. Further struts snake up to a central point. It looks like they may have been some kind of sculpture at one time, but are now twisted and melted beyond recognition. An older gentleman passes, looking up at you with rheumy eyes.
Are you here for the festival?
He asks.
That's the beacon. When they light it, night after next, you'll be able to see it 10 miles away.
He gives a little nod of satisfaction, then moves on, leaning on his walking stick. Now, for the first time, you notice bundles of wood, tied and stacked against the buildings nearby. Perhaps this festival will be an interesting diversion, but you really must head to Arkham as soon as possible. Make a spot hidden roll.
Spot hidden. 68. 43.
Nice. Make sure you check the box. As you walk away from the iron structure, you notice something strange about the construction of the village. All of the wooden dwellings are concentrated in the west and southwest. To the east and northeast, closer to the beacon, the buildings are formed from dark brick and clay. Does that mean the settlement began at the beacon and spread west? Interesting. Okay, you want to seek out the village hall, walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road, explore the church, or look for local people with their own transport needs.
Go look for local people with transport.
Or you can be done with that part.
I want to still look for transport. Just one last try.
Okay. Not far from the Ledbetter house on the north side of Silbury Street, there is an open courtyard. The rhythmic tattoo of a hammer, bang, 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 seems to announce your approach. The courtyard is the busiest location you have yet seen in Emberhead. It is bordered by a ring of workshops. Some are brick buildings, some only rough huts. A blacksmith ceases to hammer, thrusting something red and glowing into a bucket of cold water. A weaver looks up from his loom, blinking at you a moment before returning to his shuttle. A potter, engraver, and carpenter each work in their own space, exchanging friendly banter. You move among the artisans, chatting about their work. Eventually, you bring up the question of export. Some of them send occasional packages with Silas. Some restrict their custom entirely to villagers. You receive no suggestions about alternative transport. Make a psychology roll.
What is my psychology? It is, give me a second, 65. 56.
Nice. And have you already checked that box?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't check it again. One of the workshops is shut up. When you stray close to it, the repartee between the craftspeople becomes awkward, almost forced. Interesting. So one of the workshops is closed, and as you get close to it, the people are sort of like, maybe a little uneasy. All right. You can do one more thing, or you can be done. You can seek out the village hall, you can walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road, or you can explore the church, or you can be done.
I'll be done. I wonder about that building, though.
Your morning exertions have left you hungry. You roam the streets of Emberhead looking for sustenance. There is nothing resembling the busy cafes of your hometown, or anything that might be called a restaurant. It is beginning to look like you will have to get supplies from the general store when May Ledbetter comes down the street with a girl trailing in her wake. This must be Ruth. As she notices you, she races past her mother and approaches you with a smile. This is a different Ruth from the shy creature of last night. As she reaches you, she stops and stretches her arms up in celebration. She looks into your eyes. Abruptly, the smile drops from her face, and she looks several years older. "Get out before the festival," she hisses. "Get out!" She blinks hard, then scuttles back towards her mother. May approaches, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulders. She smiles. "How are you getting on? Have you found transport?"
No.
"I'd try Mr. Winters in the village hall. He's always in an afternoon. You'll be hungry by now. Help yourself to any food in the house. The door's not locked." You glance at Ruth where she has squirreled herself behind her mother's leg. Her eyes implore you to silence. You want to ask Ruth about what she said? Do you want to ask May about what Ruth said, or do you say nothing?
I'll just say nothing. I'm trying to think I need to leave. Wait, is the festival that night?
I think it's the tomorrow.
Okay.
I think.
Oh.
It might be that night or the next night, I think. So you're not going to say anything?
Well, no.
Okay. You take your leave of the Ledbetters and head towards their house. The door opens easily. In the low kitchen you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. A little window offers a view to the mountains. You learned one thing this morning. It was that Emberhead's streets hold little to occupy the visitor from out of town. But you are still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You could take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage and set out in the hope of reaching another settlement before dark. Or you could ask advice from this Mr. Winters. Do you want to prepare and walk out of town, or do you head to the village hall?
I think I'll prepare and walk out of town. Unless that little girl's just trying to like prank me and get me to like go walk out and sit, like, I don't know. I think I'll leave.
You take money, water, and some sandwiches. It seems polite to leave May Ledbetter a note explaining the situation and that you will return for your bags as soon as possible. The sky is flecked with cloud but shows no signs of imminent rain. A couple of villagers watch as you descend on the southern road and follow it around to the east. The black metal structure looms on the promontory above. You shiver as you pass the lower huts and head out of Emberhead. After the miserable enclosed streets of Emberhead, you are refreshed by the open air and sense of progress. An hour later, however, the empty road ceases to be a novelty. You have just entered the first patch of woodland when you hear an eerie, lilting howl from the north.
Well, it's from the north. I'm in the east, right?
Make a listen roll.
Where's my listen?
There's actually a typo here. It just says make a roll.
Oh.
It doesn't say what roll. I'm going to assume it's listen.
It's 60, and I got a 94.
So that's a fail. You hesitate. You have grown up in the familiar landscape of the town. Wild animals are a little outside your experience. Is it unwise to head on into the unknown by yourself? You can press on, or you can return to the safety of Emberhead.
Well, I'm not too worried. I got a 20 gauge and a pistol, so I think I'll be okay if like something attacks me, like a wolf or something. This is like a big scary monster.
You want to press on?
Yeah.
A second call answers the first, but it sounds further away. You follow the road through woodland. Branches lean over the road. The foliage is quite beautiful, from gold to russet and a deep, rich red. Fallen leaves crunch beneath your feet. After about half an hour, you emerge from the trees. The road makes a lazy curve around foothills ahead, into another patch of woodland. A rough track seems to offer a shortcut through the woods. You want to head up the hill to spot another settlement? Do you want to try the track, or do you want to stick to the safety of the road?
I'm gonna go up the hill and look for another settlement.
The gentle incline is misleading, and your forehead is damp by the time you reach the top of the hill. Breathing heavily, you pause for a moment to get your breath back and look east. The valley ahead is thick with forest, although you catch glimpses of a narrow waterway. There is still no sign of a settlement. That might be something on the horizon, a spire maybe, but it is surely another 8 or 9 hours' walk. You look back at Emberhead. The hilltop village is black, a rough silhouette against the shimmering orb of sunset. Make an archaeology roll.
Archaeology is 1%. The chances of getting that are like
1%.
Yep.
31. That's a fail.
Yeah. 1% I didn't have a chance.
You're like Percival might be good at that.
Yeah.
You feel a sting of self-doubt at the thought of your cases back on that hill, abandoned in the care of a woman you had never met 24 hours ago. They contain all of your worldly possessions, save what you stand up in. Yet a piece of you delights in this foolhardy expedition, with no map and precious few supplies, striking further into the unknown as night falls. Your life has been sheltered until now. There's a certain joy in this dangerous freedom.
I think... What should I do?
You return to the road and resume your walk east. At least you hope you are still heading east. The curves of the road become disorienting when the light begins to fade. Clouds hide the stars. It seems you will not reach another settlement before dark, and you feel weariness in your legs. The air is much cooler now. Make another listen roll. You need a hard success.
Okay. Oops. I got 33.
33. What's your listen?
30 for a hard success. So
Now, do you want to spend 3 luck points?
yeah, I will. Actually.
Okay.
So I'm at 50.
So you won't check the box for listen, because if you spend luck, you don't check the box.
Okay.
You hear something from the road behind you. It is a dull clunk, perhaps a dead branch falling. You pause, but the sound does not repeat. You retrace a few paces and look down the road. There is nothing to see. Another cry splits the gloom. It is the same unearthly call you heard when you entered the first patch of woodland, but this time with a grating undertone that makes you shiver. It seems closer.
Is the scream, is it like someone in pain? Is it like a wolf?
Well, you couldn't quite identify it before.
Like, I can't tell what it is.
Hang on, let me... I don't know why the music keeps stopping on us here.
Is it like a person making calls or something? Like, seeing if anybody's out there?
No, it's some unearthly...
Is it a Cthulhu?
Well, you don't know. Do you want to take refuge in a tree for the night, or do you want to keep walking?
I'll climb up a tree, and I'll have, like, my 20 gauge ready in case something tries to get me.
The echoing call comes again, and this time is answered by something closer to you. This seems a good time to get off the ground. You select a tree with obvious footholds and a thick branch at about twice your height. You haul yourself up. You are not dressed for this. Make a climb roll.
Oh, no. What's my climb? Oh, 20? Oh, no, I'm gonna hurt myself.
You just need to not fumble. A fumble is 96 or higher.
I got 30,
Yeah.
so I'm good.
And what was your climb skill?
20.
20. You ease yourself onto the widest branch you can see. It is less than comfortable, but you do at least feel safer in this elevated position. Night settles slowly around you. The woods come alive with small noises, scratching nearby, distant bird calls, and the gentle rustle of leaves. Although resigned to a long, tedious night of wakefulness, after a few hours you find yourself yawning. You loop your belt around the branch and your clothing to hold yourself in place as best you can. Then you close your eyes. In your dreams, the trees change position, lifting their roots from the ground and shuffling to another spot before planting themselves again. This seems perfectly normal, companionable even. They start to glow, a greenish yellow as the flames lick. Flames? The trees begin to scream. Tongues of flickering fire snake up the tree towards you. You scrabble at the belt which binds you to this pyre, coughing as the vapors fill your throat, choking. Make a sanity roll.
Is this my dream?
So your current sanity is 68.
62.
Ooh, so you barely made that. Something is not right here. Even as your fingers find the clasp of the belt and open it, some rational part of your mind recognizes that this fire does not look natural, and trees don't move by themselves. The belt releases and you drop through air. Can you see figures there, coming out of the dark? Roll a 6-sided dice.
Oh, no. 3.
You lose 2 hit points.
12.
Fell out of the tree.
Wait, is this in real life or is this my dream?
Well, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
The skin of your face feels warm. There's a mattress beneath you.
This is a dream.
You blink against the sunlight. A blurred figure swims in your vision. You're awake. It's May. May Ledbetter. You shift and pain racks your body. You feel bruised and your head throbs.
She dragged a mattress all the way out here?
No, you're in the room.
Oh, I was like, she dragged a mattress all the way out into the woods?
May comes into focus. You're lucky to be alive. A farmer found you in the small hours, lying by the road. Patched you up and brought you back on his cart. Said you were in the middle of the woods somewhere. Best take it easy today. I'll look in on you later. The farmer and his cart are long gone, of course. You snooze for a little bit longer. You have received first aid while unconscious and may restore 1 hit point.
I was like, I thought she dragged a mattress all the way out into the woods and like it's for me to fall on.
The Ledbetter kitchen is empty, although bread and eggs have been laid out for your breakfast. There's a note from May explaining that she has taken Ruth out for a few hours. You make a quiet circuit of the village, pausing in unobtrusive places to watch the villagers. It is rather busy for this time in the morning. Yawning locals stream back and forth along the roads, carrying bundles of split logs to the site of what you've heard referred to as the beacon. You see 2 figures already up in its superstructure, arranging the wood. The festival bonfire will be most impressive, but do you intend to stay? You may do some illicit investigation, or you may simply leave town without looking back. Do you want to search May Ledbetter's bedroom? Do you want to go alone to the village hall? Do you want to take a closer look at the artisan's courtyard? Do you want to spy on the activity at the beacon, or do you want to slip down the east road and flee for good?
Well, it's early morning, right? So I'd have enough time to get farther than I did the last time?
Maybe.
Because I left in the evening, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you left, there's like 5 hours of daylight left.
Oh, this time I have like how many hours of daylight?
Well, probably like 10.
So I could get way farther.
Yeah, if you want to try. So do you want to go search her bedroom, go to the village hall, take a closer look at where the artisans were? Do you want to spy on the activity at the beacon, or slip down the east road and flee for good?
I'll spy on the activity at the beacon, and then I'll think about running. Because it is that night, right? The festival?
So you want to spy on activity at the beacon?
Yeah.
The northern side of the village is bustling, and you are unlikely to remain hidden there for long. You head in the direction of the church and then move up the east side behind the houses. A drop looms on your right. You guys remember there's a cliff there.
Mm-hmm.
One particular section of ground is quite narrow, and you have to hug the building for support. Compare your size to your dexterity. If your dexterity is higher or your size is higher, let me know. So what's
Dexterity's higher.
It's higher. Go to 42.
What's your dexterity?
Like how agile you are, your agility, like how your balance and speed. And
Yes,
stuff.
10 higher.
The turf sinks beneath your feet and stones crumble from its edge. Alarmed, you grip the building and ease yourself forward. Finally, you have a good spot to watch the beacon. You lie concealed in the grass and watch the activity around the beacon. Villagers bring in yet more bundles of tinder and stack them in neat piles. Another shift passes the bundles up to a pair of men standing on the raised platform of the beacon. They are constructing a triangular structure resembling a gigantic campfire. As you watch, you are struck by the manner of the laborers. This is their festival. You would expect a cheerful atmosphere and some light-hearted conversation. Yet the faces of some show resignation and detachment, others a naked dread. You watch for a good half hour before you slip away.
They're gonna just human sacrifice me to Cthulhu.
You feel a deepening unease about Emberhead and this day in particular. Now you can search May Ledbetter's bedroom, you can go alone to the village hall, you can go to the artisan's courtyard, or you can slip down the road. Once you've attempted 3 of these, you'll go to a different thing.
I'll just slip down the road.
They won't be able to take all your stuff, like all your trunks and cases, your luggage. But you can get out of town.
I don't want to die, that's the thing. I like my character.
As you approach the southern road that descends to the lower ridge, you see 4 villagers blocking the route, with farm tools and clubs. You veer off and head towards the west road. Your heart sinks as you see exactly the same scene at the other exit from the village.
They're blocking me in.
You are trapped.
I can just go through the woods.
Now, do you want to try and talk your way past one of the guards, or do you want to try to slip past in disguise?
I can just, go through the woods. Because there's a road and then there's woods on the side, forest.
Well,
I could just go into the forest.
well, that's not one of the options here.
Oh, man. I'll try to talk my way past them.
Talk your way past the guards.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do some deception here.
The southern group appears less sharp than the western group. You stride up to them and explain they are needed at the beacon. They look dubious. You offer to watch the road for them and hold out your hand for a pitchfork. Nah, you come with us, says the first one. His ape-like brow bends into a frown. Make a fast talk roll. You need an extreme success.
Oh, no. Fast talk, where is it? Oops, it's 5. So I have to get a 1?
You need a 1.
Oh, that's unfair.
48.
No, nowhere close. If it was like 100, then it would be fine.
These locals are not as stupid as you think. They grab you and march you back to the center of the village.
Oh.
The fading light from a narrow window tells you that afternoon is giving way towards evening. Your hands are shackled behind your back, so you cannot even lie down on the rough bed. A woman you have not seen before comes in. Her face is wrinkled and her eyes dull. They do not meet yours, but she puts a cup to your lips. Do you accept the drink or reject it?
No, I'll drink it. It's probably something nice.
You want to drink it?
Yeah.
You drink from the cup. It holds cool, refreshing water, which you gulp down. When it is empty, she turns to leave. You speak to her, but she steps outside and closes the door. Later, you try yelling. Your voice must be audible outside, but it has no effect. It seems the entire village is involved.
Oh, no. I knew it was a
As
human
the light
sacrifice.
fades outside, your little prison becomes dark. You can hear much activity around the building. Occasionally, an orange glow passes the window. The only comfortable position in the shackles seems to be to sit against the end of the bed with your arms hanging behind you. You need to concentrate and come up with a plan. There is clearly no escape from your bonds. You do not know exactly what your captors want from you, but you cannot ignore the fact that they have spent the entire day constructing a massive bonfire.
Oh, boy.
The door scrapes, wrenching you back to the moment. Orange light spills into the house from blazing torches held at the threshold. 2 large villagers step in and grab you. At least you assume they are villagers. They wear heavy black cloaks,
Cultists.
and their faces and hands are painted entirely black, save only for a red triangle centered on their left eye.
I knew they were cultists.
You try to drag your legs, but they reach under your arms and lift you bodily from the bed. Outside, it seems that the whole village has congregated to see you. Every single one has a blackened face with a red triangle motif. Torches sputter and spill light. You struggle, but you can see physical resistance is hopeless. You are marched to the central street and turned to face the beacon.
Oh, where did I put my guns?
I think they probably got them.
Well, I had a hidden pistol. I hid it in my...
I think you got your fists.
Oh, I have a pistol and a 20 gauge, and I hid them. See, I have a compartment. I had plastic surgeon put a compartment in me,
This
so
is the 1920s.
I could pull out a gun and shoot them.
The procession down the approach is slow and formal, save when you sense weakness and yank at your captors. A chill touches you when you see 3 human shapes carried ahead of you, draped in red cloth. The beacon looms larger and larger, its dreadful silhouette a black triangle pointing to the stars. A low drone... Sorry, hang on.
Oh, no.
A low drone begins among the cloaked figures. Unbidden, the word mourners comes to mind. Smoke from their torches makes you cough. You feel the heat on your face. As you reach the cleared area around the beacon, 3 dancers break from the pack. Young girls swinging balls of fire in spectacular arcs, drawing circles in the night air. One by one they draw close to you and touch your forehead with sooty fingers. Each kisses you 3 times, on the left cheek, on the right cheek, then the forehead. Then they whisper in your ear. The smell of kerosene fills your nostrils. Make an appearance roll.
Appearance.
At the top.
Swear? What? Oh, 70. 60.
60.
Yeah. I'm dead. Well, bye, Jerry. You were a good guy.
Through your sacrifice, the village will be reborn.
I called it!
Says the
knew
first
it.
dancer.
I called it! It was a human sacrifice and they were cultists.
Alright, just listen. You pass from earth to air for all our sakes, says the second. I've weakened the chains, says the third. Don't try to escape until the flames are high enough to hide you. You stare at the third dancer. In that inky visage, you clearly discern the frightened features of Ruth Ledbetter. Their dance weaves off and disappears behind the buildings. So did you catch what she said?
She said, loosen the chains, but don't do it until you're covered by flames. I'll be dead by the time I'm covered by flames.
Let's see. 18. As you arrive beneath the beacon, 10 villagers close in on you. Working with surprising coordination, they immobilize you and lift you up to the blackened iron stairs to the raised platform. You cannot help but shiver at the sight of the central framework, twisted from past blazes, and what you can now clearly see to be fastening points for chain. None of their eyes meet yours as they lash you to the metal. The village sings now, something rhythmic and ancient, carved from odd syllables. A second group ascends to the beacon, carrying the 3 red-draped bodies. With reverence, they arrange their burdens in a triangle around your feet. Then they withdraw, leaving you alone with the dead, shin deep in a sea of kindling.
Oh,
It seems the entire village is gathered around the beacon to watch you burn. Behind the face paint, you recognize May Ledbetter. And yes, that is Silas, the coach driver, standing at her side. The audacity and scale of the deception staggers you. A man steps up on a dais and raises his hands with quiet authority. The frame of his spectacles obscures the red triangle on his face. So we draw here together again on this night, as we do each year, and we give thanks to the one who will preserve the village against the fire of the void. You will be taken by the ones from above in our stead. Your death will bring life to our streets and bounty to our fields. It will safeguard our children and our elders alike for another year. We salute you. He bows his head. All around the beacon, bearers step forward and lift their torches to the edge of the raised platform. A ring of tiny flames flicker up around the perimeter. As they wink, the singing of the villagers drops into an unearthly rhythm. Okay. To throw all your remaining strength against the bonds, or to wait and see what happens? What do you do?
Oh, well, am I covered by flames? Like,
No.
they're not, like, so people can see if I escaped? I'll wait. She said to wait, so
All right.
I'll wait. I'm gonna be dead.
You're going to trust the little girl.
She's probably just a cultist.
The flames snake across the kindling, catching and rising. Smoke rises, and it becomes difficult to see the villagers. The 3 bodies around you catch fire, blazing with sooty red flames. You begin to cough as the smoke enters your lungs, and fight down the urge to panic. Flames lick at your legs. Your eyes water. You are shrouded in smoke. It might be your imagination, but you think you can feel a slight give in the chains. You throw yourself against them, giving no thought as to how they bite into your wrists. Roll a 6-sided dice.
6-sided. 5.
Take 5 points of damage.
What? Oh, that's a lot of damage. Oh no.
So normally
8. That's not half my hit points.
No. So if it was half, then that would be a major wound, and you'd have to roll a Constitution save. But that wasn't half. 7 would be half.
Yeah, so I was close.
You were close. Okay, now you need to make a strength roll. You probably want to succeed at this one.
Strength is 75.
Yep.
I hope I do good. 41.
Yep.
Oh, that's not a hard success. Oh boy.
Desperation lends you strength, and you yank at what you guess to be the weak point in the chain. It breaks.
Yay!
You throw the chain off, stumbling across one of the red-shrouded corpses, heading away from the watching villagers. You cough. Your hair and eyebrows smolder. Roll a 6-sided dice.
If I get away, I know exactly what I want to do.
Take 4 damage.
What? Oh no, I'm at 4 hit points. Crap. I'm still gonna do what I wanted to do.
You leap from the conflagration on the far side of the beacon. Your heart lurches momentarily at the sight of the sheer drop beneath you, but you land a few inches short of the edge. You roll to extinguish your burning clothes. Your lungs feel singed. Everything hurts. The chant of the villagers gathers in its intensity. You peer around the beacon. They don't seem to have noticed your absence amid the billowing smoke. Most of them are staring into the sky. You crawl as rapidly as you can for the cover of the nearest building. With the villagers assembled at the beacon, the streets are empty, and you are able to pad away from the blaze. You must get out of town before they finish.
Or get my gun.
Well, you're not sure where it is.
Oh.
The chanting seems to accelerate as you round the corner of the southern road. Here, parked against the side of the general store, you have your first piece of luck since reaching Emberhead. A bicycle. You learned how to ride one of these in Providence. You settle into the saddle. Your burned flesh protests at the contact. Do you want to wait and observe the goings-on at the beacon, or do you ride out of town immediately?
I want to get like away from them. I want to say, "Hey," and I want to do take the L.
No. You want to wait and see what's happening at the beacon, or do you want to just go?
I want to go, but as I do, I'm gonna get a little bit away from where they are, and then I'm gonna be like, "Hey," and then I want to do take the L.
It takes a moment to recapture the skill of riding the bicycle, but after the first turn to the east, there is a long downhill out of Emberhead. You hear screams and crackles above you, but concentrate on balancing and working the pedals in your weakened state. You've had too many hopes dashed in this abomination of a village. You keep your head down and ride away. 20 minutes later, with no signs of pursuit, you stop for a breather at the top of a hill. You can see Emberhead rise in the distance. The entire village appears to be ablaze. The dark column of smoke above it will be visible for many miles. But if the village is as isolated as it seems, help is unlikely to arrive in time. You watch the place burn for 5 minutes. Then you mount the bicycle again and ride towards civilization and dawn. Congratulations, you have survived the adventure. Now you get a chance to improve the skills for the boxes you checked through your experience. The end. What did you think?
I thought it was scary, and I do it all from the beginning.
You kind of suggested.
Yep.
So how do you think Phoebe's gonna do?
I don't know. Well, she, I don't know.
How do you think Percival will do?
he's gonna get away, I bet. But he won't be able to ride the bicycle.
Yep. The tires will pop and it just falls apart.
Yep.
All right. So was that fun?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and sign off, and then we'll do some advancement on your character and see if we can improve your stats.
Okay.
All right. Say goodbye.
Bye.